Hey, what can I help you with today?
I just wanted to ask you if there's a correct amount or if there's a way of working out how much money I need to keep in my bank account for cash flow or just to float the business,
Very good.
just because of the ups and downs and all that.
Very good. That's a nice practical question. Give me an idea of turnover of your business.
Oh, like a month?
No, year. Doesn't need to be exact. Just give me a rough figure, just to put me in the ballpark.
Say $750,000.
750K. Okay, brilliant. Well done. Well done to you, sir. So if I quickly do some maths, do you know what the average month is of general expenses for your business?
Just stuff that comes out no matter what.
Yep. Doesn't need to be exact, but I mean we're talking here about.
Say 5,000.
All right, we're talking here about 60 grand months, right? That's if you were to average them out, it'd be a 60 grand month.
Yeah.
So if we take into consideration your general expenses and your cost of goods, my guess would be, right, that you're probably operating on a 10 to 20% net profit. That would be my guess if I was to group you with most businesses. So you're probably up for 50K in expenses. Maybe not. Maybe it's 40K in expenses on a 60K month, right? Maybe it's something like that. So here's the thing that I reckon you should consider. I reckon we've got to consider having so many months forward in expenses. And you probably don't have to include variables because you only have them because you're doing business. So fixed expenses multiplied by however many months. Secondary to that, I mean, here's an interesting take home. What if you always had more than a quarterly BAS? Right? Because obviously, your BAS should be, I mean, ideally your BAS would be flicked away into another account so that when the quarter comes, you can pay it. But as an absolute minimum, I reckon you should always be floating. As a minimum, you should always be floating a quarterly BAS payment, right? Both GST and income tax, because then you don't have to be scrambling, right? When that time comes, you can pay it because it's there. So that's the baseline. On top of that, I would be looking at my general expenses multiplied by how many months would make me feel comfortable. So if that's 1 month, great. Like if you feel like you always want to be a month ahead, then all you've got to have is a quarterly BAS plus whatever your monthly general expenses are. Maybe you want 2 months. I mean, I know personally for me, I run all my tax into an account, so that's never an issue. And then I actually run 6 months ahead of float, right? So I have 6 months of expenses in my business. So basically if all my businesses stopped overnight, I could run them for 6 months before running into trouble, right? So here's the interesting dynamic. If you leave too much money in your bank account, which I think you can do, I think you can build up to the point where there's lazy money around. See, what I do is I rip it out. I rip the money out whenever I feel like I've got enough float ahead of me. I rip the money out and I go put it to work in investments, because I don't, it's not making any money in the bank, right? So I make myself a little bit uncomfortable because it forces me to go back to the business and build it back up again. So I always take my money out. Money makes you lazy, right? If you have too much in the bank, then you stop hunting, you stop fighting for the business. So you'd rip that money out and go and put it to work somewhere else. But before that point, I'd just be building up to however many months makes you comfortable, right? Whether that's 1, 2, or 3, if you've got that float locked away, then takes the pressure off you in the short term. But you don't want to overextend yourself where you have a massive cash balance and the money's not going to work for you. So you want to rip that money out once you've got a lot, go put it into some investment and go and multiply it.